Hey y'all, has this blockchain positioned itself to be the biggest layer one in GameFi this year? I don't know. Let's find out. Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, Joe Visani. Welcome to episode 16 of the Alpha Show. As always, before we get started, make sure you hop over to lunarcrush.com, use code Alpha25 if you want 25% off. Use all the awesome same data that I do every single night for bringing these great insights to you. Go ahead, check it out, Alpha25. All right, what is on tap for tonight? So, been on a bit of a gaming kick lately, but I wanted to look at and figure out where is GameFi going to be built and which layer ones are standing out in this category. And so, gaming was, it kind of felt like the perfect marriage with Web3 and gaming coming together. And I don't think we've seen a perfect match for what's going on yet. I think this cycle will be different. So I've heard through the grapevine that Scale, ticker SKL, had a solid presence up at the Gaming Development Conference in San Francisco, known as GDC. And the charts are kind of telling the same story for these guys. And so let's hop into it. What in the world is Scale? So as you can see here, Scale says they are the world's fastest blockchain. A lot of people talk about being the world's fastest blockchain. I don't know if that's what they want to lead with. I think there's other things here that are actually pointing to some of the value outside of the world's fastest blockchain. But one of the big things here, and I think they should actually lead with this, is zero gas fees. And we'll get into how that happens in a moment here. But kind of looking through their site, I've got some pretty good stats in here. But here you go, zero gas fees forever. Scale is a limitless, scalable, fast, on-demand blockchain network with zero gas fees, allowing for quick deployment and interoperable EVM-compatible chains without compromising security or decentralization. Okay, how do you do that? But cool here with zero gas fees. Obviously, with gaming, you want speed and you want low fees. Part of, I think, some of the issue, it's like, if you're building a game on Ethereum and every time someone needed to sell or buy or do something, you have $15, $20, $30 in gas fees. It's just not going to work out. And so there has been a lot of competition from all the different layer ones about who will really take the lead in GameFi. And so I think these guys got a great chance. And so, creating a world-class user experience, there's instant finality, Ethereum native. I think all these things make sense. They're pitching eco-friendly. It's proof of stake. Some good news that kind of came through here, but here's kind of, where they start to talk about what's coming next and the future of gaming. So it seems like this is really kind of what they're trying to stand out as. You can also see like the grant up here. That's the banner at the top. So why choose Scale for gaming? Obviously zero gas fees, game-changing speed. These probably seem to be the two biggest things that you would want to focus on if you're going to bring the development community over to do this. Configurable, built-in game development tools. Cool. No lag. It's great. Come watch this if you want. But then they kind of showcase some of the games also that are being built on top of here. And then also they do have app chains that are part of this, which is kind of interesting. I didn't know that, off the top of my head coming through this. So that was cool and new for me to figure out as well. And then, you can see actually all the way towards the bottom here are the like other use cases in Web3, which it's like, it's a blockchain. It will work for all of these things. But it does seem like they have kind of positioned themselves from a marketing standpoint, at least, to really focus on gaming. And it looks like, going to the conference focused on that. And that's what the buzz is about. That's kind of where the narrative is that they're looking for. So go check out the site if you want to get in more in depth on it. Some of the numbers that are out here. So 20 of these kind of app chains that are out there. A lot of wallets, 25 million wallets. And then here's over the last couple of months, just looking at transactions per month. Obviously, April has just started. So this is real time. We're 4 days in. So pretty good activity with transactions over the last month. And then gas fees saved each month. I don't know how they exactly calculate this, to have $6 billion in gas fees saved. Maybe it's just like the equivalent number and average, compared to Ethereum. But they picked out a number. It's a pretty big number there. So really good stats to see that. A lot of people, like, that's a lot of active wallets around here. So obviously with gaming, I'm not sure how that works with how many NFTs or app chains, and people can get, if it's gasless, obviously you can create tons of wallets. So but if they're active, something's happening with them. Looking at the token economics, or the tokenomics here for scale. And so, how could they have no gas fees? Why would someone validate on this network? It looks like what's happening here is actually there's just some inflation, and that's kind of like the fallback for these validators, and the validator rewards are built into the tokenomics of what's going on. When we get to the circulating supply, I think it's like already 70-80% is already out in the wild there, and the float is pretty high. So it looks like a lot of the tokens are actually out on the market already. And so these validators, there's also, as we get a little bit lower and down here, there's also, you see where these app chains and these developers, they actually pay to use the blockchain, which like sounds crazy. Like, why would you pay to use it? But this is just a slightly different model. And it's an interesting model to think that, what would the use case be for gaming when there's zero gas fees, but the developers are, not forced, but they're encouraged to, create actual profit and pay someone to utilize something. And so, they don't need those app chains to support what's going on with the inflation that they have. But it is, a bonus for those validators also, if they're going to get paid by the people that are utilizing the actual development side of the blockchain. So pretty interesting there. Definitely got to dig in, do your own DD on some of this stuff, and kind of check out some of the, the token's been around for a little bit. And so some of this lockup is already out there and done, but they did have a longer lockup. Looking at staking, you can stake, 11%, little calculator here, if you need help with the math, but you can stake your SKL token and get 11%, which is pretty good. They like, this is, something that I saw, and this is kind of what hit my radar too, was that they did announce a $2 million in grants for these attendees to be a part of it. This is actually still open, which is kind of cool. They did it until after. But, anyone that's really coming out, and, that's a traditional kind of gaming conference. It's one of like the longest running conferences that are out there for gaming. And so to, having this kind of call to action for Web 2 to Web 3, people transitioning and announcing those grants, people will gravitate towards that. You will see developers starting to build on this. It will be interesting to see, how many new games are getting pushed on here, what type of games are getting pushed on here. Are people building out full businesses with these app chains? Are they doing individual games? And so I think there's a lot of options, but I really like, the kind of the groundswell of activity that I'm seeing out of these guys and out of this project. And so just kind of looking at the charts here in a little bit of a longer time period, like I said, I talked yesterday about Nakamoto games. I'm kind of just got my eye on some projects from last cycle that a lot of the charts are going to look like this, right? And then, a lot of projects died. Many projects died in this time period here. This is a long bear market. And, I think the top of the actual market, from last cycle was somewhere in this range in October, November. And so again, these guys have been fighting a bear market for pretty much most of their existence. And so if you can make it through those bear markets, it shows a lot of resiliency from the team and the community that's out there. So, and then again, looking at the market cap versus the fully diluted valuation, it looks like there are, a lot of tokens that are out there. It looks like there's some burning that's happening as well. If the max supply and the total supply is here. So maybe they did do a big burn. And that's where some of the bullishness is coming from, but you can see the movement that's starting back on this chart. And so I'm just looking at, for some of these plays that I'm looking at, I'm just looking out and saying, hey, who do I think is going to continue to survive and now thrive in this bull market? And how are they now positioning themselves to make that happen? And so, it's not like these guys are super small, $600 million market cap, but they are, they're just eclipsing into that top 150. So could they cement themselves as the GameFi blockchain, and can they continue to go through that? Can they get the developers to launch? That's something that looks like, they might make happen if they keep pushing. Looking at the social side of this, again, just kind of like yesterday, where I was looking at just the max time period here, where, you're starting to see all of these metrics. I'm looking at number of creators and then number of posts receiving interactions for the term, scale or, hashtag SKL, across 4 different social media networks. And, we are seeing an increase there just in the last couple of months of activity. And now we're also seeing that increase in price. And so again, you can kind of see there is a groundswell of people that are out there. I mean, these interactions over that time period are all up, tens of thousands of percent. So, we do see that a lot in crypto, where once a community starts to roll, it starts to snowball and go from there. And so, I like these guys. I think it's pretty interesting. I like it. I like them as a layer 1 into the GameFi space, and, looking at where the rest of the market is at and those market caps, if you want, a call option, outside exposure, if really an interesting way to look at the market is, okay, if Avalanche is going to double or Avalanche is going to triple, can people like this do a 10? Could they do a 20x and be pretty prominent in that space as things grow? So that's what I'm looking at tonight. Scale. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Episode 16.